Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we look at 12 Wolves by Ben Counter. It's a short story that covers the Ecclesiarchy coming to Fenris and what they encounter there. During the age of apostasy, when the corrupt clergy of the Imperial Creed sought to seize power for themselves, there was a plague of unbelief, and a wicked man named Cardinal Bucharest carved out an empire of his own, throwing off imperial authority to rule as a king, and in his arrogance to cede every world before him, he sent armies to Fenris, what a bad move, to conquer its savage people and force the Space Wolves to cede their world. And with Wolf Lord Kyle Grimblood, great name that, on a crusade elsewhere in the galaxy, he had a chance. Only the numbers of a single great company remained, and so the Cardinal's forces lay siege to the Fang. It's there we join Daegalon, a Long Fang, and a blood claw called Hrothgar. They climb a ridge, and there Hrothgar identifies a target, an officer bearing the silver skull of the heretic cardinal, and the wolf says he must die first. Daegalon says that's wrong. He must learn the lessons of the 12 wolves of Fenris. One is the wolf of Fenris teaches us to observe our enemy, much as we would love to get our claws around his throat first, for it is in looking ahead that the victory can sometimes be won before a blow is struck. The veteran says the man they should target is a man reading a book written by the cardinal himself. He will be the one that the hearts of the cardinal's followers will go to, who they look to as a leader. Hrothgar attacked that guardsman, hauling him into the air and dashing his brains out. The other guardsmen wailed in terror, and the blood cord tore through them in a few heartbeats. They faced other forces shortly after, and between them the two wolves dealt with the walker they faced. The Long Fang spoke after, saying the claw had shown two other lessons of Freki and Geri, the twin wolves, who were companions of Leman Russ himself. See how this enemy, a match for both of us, was destroyed by the fruits of our brotherhood. When wolves fight as a pack, as one they slay foes that would confound them if they merely attacked as individuals. The attack spared many wolves the bombardment of the Cardinal's war machines. Now it was about this time that the Cardinal, accursed Bucharest himself, came. He was upon Fenris directing the siege of the Fang. The destruction of his machines drew him into a rage. How unfortunate, believing a great host of space wolves had done this deed, and that with their destruction the defenders of the Fang would be greatly weakened in number. Many units of the Imperial Guard were sent to punish the hosts of the Astartes that Bucharest believed to be abroad in the foothills of the Fang. He gave them tanks and heavy weapons, and the kind of murderous cutthroat mercenaries that Bucharest had swayed to his cause to lead them. These men and machines left the great siege encampment of the Regalian Guard and headed for the Fang, ordered on pain of death to destroy the Astartes. The Long Fang and the Blood Claw make their way to the Fang, and as they came to the head of the valley, where it reached the surface, they spied before them fearsome barricades set up by the traitor guard, the bayonets of the heretics glinting in the sun that now broke through the storm clouds. Dozens of them were waiting for the Astartes, and they were trembling, for they believed that a host of Astartes would stream from the Black Valley. The Bloodclaw says he will give them the gifts of a happy death. Daegalon replies that the battle favour the youth once will be there for him. The soldiers fire, but the Bloodclaw's arm held, and when the battle settled, his arm was red to the elbow, and the enemy's screams were in the background like a blizzard. Daegalon joined the battle and stopped a bayonet charge against his charge, and after they rested in a field of bloody jewels. But then they found themselves in a trap. The forces they faced were 10 times that they had just fought, and included tanks. 6 of the guns aimed at the wolves and held by the guardsmen were heavy weapons. One says terror has fallen amid flame and ruin, and Bucharest promises safety for those who kneel to him, and he wants Fenris as a world of his empire. The wolves did not believe any of this. Daegalon says they will die, but upon the ground of Fenris, the ground upon which we were born, and first ran with our packs, in the snow, and he reassures the Bloodclaw his saga will be a fine one. Now a strange countenance came upon Hrothgar the Bloodclaw. His teeth flashed like fangs, and his eyes turned into the flinty black orbs of the hunting wolf. You have spoken of the wolves of Fenris that follow us, and impart to us their lessons. 12 of them you have described to me, each one mirroring an aspect of Fenris, or of the teachings the wolf priests have passed down to us. These lessons were well earned, and I thank you for them, Brother Daegalon. But I am wiser than you in but one aspect. I have countered 12 Fenrisian wolves in your teachings, each one taken as the totem of a great company of the space wolves. But you are mistaken, for I know that in truth there are not 12 wolves, there are 13. Now to go back a little bit, there is a legend told amongst the people of Gathalamor. Once an army was sent by Bucharest to destroy the Astartes, who had been sowing much death and confusion amongst the besieging forces. The army cornered the Astartes, but found much to their delight that they faced not a battle company, or even a single pack, but a single space wolf. In some versions of the tale there were 2 wolves. The difference does not matter. Now the soldiers drove their tanks into range and took aim at the Astartes, and they waited only the order to open fire, which would surely have been given, but a moment later they were struck by a great and monstrous fear, such as rarely enters the hearts even of the most cowardly of men. The space wolf was an Astartes no more. In fact, he appeared as nothing that could once have been a man. He had a bestial countenance that had overcome him, and the winds howled as if Fenris herself was recoiling in disgust. Talons grew from his fingers, his armor warped and split as his body deformed, shoulders broadening and spine hunching over in the aspect of a beast. The soldiers cried that a demon had come into their midst, and men fled the sight of it. Even the gunners in their tanks did not think themselves safe from the horror unfolding in front of their very eyes. And then came the slaughter. The beast charged and butchered men with every stroke of its gory claws. It tore open the hulls of their tanks and ripped out the men inside. In its frenzy it feasted on them, and the strips of bloody skin and meat hung from its inhuman fangs. Men went mad with the force of its onslaught. The leaders of that army fired on their own men to keep them from fleeing, but the beast fell on them next, and the last moments of their life were filled with terror and the agony of claws through their flesh. The soldiers were thrown to the ground. Others fought against the winds of Fenris and scattered. Some say that none survived, either torn down by the beast or frozen to death as they cowered from it. Others insist that a single man survived to tell the tale, but that he was driven hopelessly mad, and the legend of the beast of Fenris was all that ever escaped his quivering lips. But this is a tale told by other men, far from the Fang and the proud sons of Fenris, who dwell therein, and I shall dwell upon it no more. Now it came that many days later, when the battle waxed and waned as battles do, a pack of grey hunters ventured forth from the Fang to drive off the traitor guardsmen, who were thought to be encamped in the foothills. There they came across a place like a field of rubies, where frozen blood lay scattered across the snowy tracks, and such great abandon had been given to that it seemed a great battle had been fought there, though the packmates knew of no such battle. "Look," cried one space wolf, "someone yet lives. He is clad in the armour of a space wolf, and yet he is not one. For see, his bearing is that of an animal, and his face bears no trace of the human we were all before becoming Astartes." The pack leader bade his battle brothers to cover him with their bolt guns as he went to see what they had found. As he approached, he saw countless bodies torn asunder, many with the marks of teeth in their frozen flesh, and still others dead in the ruins of their tanks. The figure in the centre of the battlefield indeed wore the power armour of an Astartes, but split apart and ruined as if rent from within. He crouched panting in the cold, as if fresh from a hunt. His form was not that of a human, but of a beast. "He is touched by the Wulfen," said the pack leader. "The 13th wolf of Fenris has walked here, and its humanity has found a place to dwell inside the blood claw. Some flaw in his gene seed went unnoticed during his novicehood, and now it has come to the fore in this place of bloodshed." Another space wolf cried out, "There lies another of our battle brothers dead beside him. What appalling wounds he has suffered! What monstrous force must have torn his armour so, and what claws must have ripped at his flesh!" "Indeed," said the pack leader, "this noble brother was a Longfang, one of that wise and hardy breed, and he shall be borne by us to a proper place of resting within the Fang. Alas, I knew him. He is brother Dagerlan. I recognise him by his pack markings, but see the claws of the survivor made these wounds. His teeth have gashed at the fallen Astartes' armour, and even upon his bones." The pack was much dismayed at this. What space wolf could turn on his brother, they asked. "Mark well the path of the Wulfen," said the pack leader sternly. "His is the way of deviant and frenzied bloodshed. He cared not for whom the blood flows, as long as the hunting is good. This ill-fated Longfang is testament to that. When this blood claw ran out of foes to slay, under the Wulfen's influence, he turned upon his brother." The pack spoke prayers to mighty Rus and to the ancestors of the chapter, and all those interred in the Fang, to watch over them and protect them from such a fate as suffered by the two Astartes. You might think that a beast such as they found should have been put down, but imagine for a moment you are confronted by such a sight. It would surely be impossible for you to kill one such as Hrothgar, for though a warped and pitiable thing, he was still a son of Fenris, and to slay him was to slay a brother. So the pack brought Daglin's body, and Hrothgar still living to the Fang. I've heard it said they led him by a chain like an animal, or that they call upon a wolf priest to administer a powerful concoction that sedated him long enough to be carried to the Fang. And so it came to be that Daglin the Longfang was given his rightful place among the packmates who had fallen over the decades, and there he lies still. As for Hrothgar, well, he was interred in a similar way, this time in a cell hollowed out from the rock of the Fang's very heart, where from the lightless cold no one can hope to escape. And that, friends, is the end of this video. I really enjoyed the build-up to the revealing of the Wulfen. It's kind of obvious where it's going to go, where it says actually there are 13 wolves in the teachings of the other wolf. That's a very cool moment, and he certainly wreaks a lot of havoc in that form. Anyway, this is where I'll end today's video. Drop my comment down below if you enjoyed the video or if you've got anything to say. Say it.